Welcome back. This past week saw a notable departure from Wisconsin's congressional delegation. Green Bay area Republican Mike Gallagher announced that he would not seek re-election this fall, leaving a critical open seat for Wisconsin Republicans to fill in that deep red district. Joining us now to help understand where this is headed is Gallagher's predecessor, Congressman Ribble. Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
It's great to be with you. Thanks, Will.
So for people down here in Madison who might not have a good sense of what the 8th Congressional District is like, how would you describe it?
Well, it's changed. I mean, it is clearly shifted a bit to the right, like a lot of rural areas in Wisconsin. You've got Democrat strongholds in the cities of Appleton and Green Bay, and some up in Door County, Wisconsin. But everything else is very rural, so it's a pretty bright red district. I think President Trump won it by double digits last election, and so it's a pretty Republican place.
And so the retiring representative right now, Mike Gallagher, what kind of politician was he?
He was a really good one. I was very proud of Mike Gallagher and his work. He's a very pragmatic guy. He's a very likable man. And even if you come at him with opposing views, whether from the right or the left, he was always willing to engage and try to find some common ground, both with constituents and with colleagues in Washington. And a very, very impressive, very impressive guy.
So I've also heard anecdotally that he's been considered kind of a rising star in Republican politics, a possible contender to face Baldwin, although he passed on that, maybe a possible gubernatorial candidate for Republicans. What do you think the future for him will be?
You know, I think just from my personal relationship with Mike, and I consider him a good friend of mine, Mike has a real interest in foreign affairs, international policy. It's what his PhD is in. And I think he wants to engage in that space in government. So it wouldn't surprise me if he became a contractor for the Department of Defense or work at NSA or something like that, someplace where he can use his intelligence bona fides to help the country in that regard. He may come back and run for something at some point. He's a young guy. He's only 40 years old. And so, but I think with young kids, he's looking for a more stable calendar and schedule that you don't get if you're an elected official.
You can certainly understand that. Question now, kind of moving forward as we look to who might replace him. We've heard a couple of names kind of drop their hat maybe in the ring a little bit. Do you have a sense of who might hop in or who might be a good candidate to replace him?
Well, certainly former Senator Roger Roth has already announced that he's going to run in the primary to try to become the nominee for that position. Totally capable candidate, totally capable as a Wisconsin senator. He knows the process. He was both in the Wisconsin Assembly and in the Wisconsin State Senate, so he knows how government works. He certainly would be a strong candidate there. It wouldn't surprise me if Senator Jacques jumps in the race. I've been called. I can't disclose who they are, but 2 or 3 local business leaders have called me to talk to me about how I was able to navigate it without political experience. And so I would anticipate a primary with maybe 3 to 5 Republicans running for it. But I also think in an open seat, this will also inspire some Democrats to get in that otherwise might not have looked at it. Nobody was really going to take on Gallagher. He was unbeatable up there. And so, but now with the open seat, there's an opportunity for a Democrat, particularly if Wisconsin primary voters up there in the 8th pick a very hard, mega type of candidate that's just fully kind of in bed with Trump. I think that could open up a pathway for a Democrat to run a very competitive race.
Is this the kind of race that you would endorse a candidate in?
I don't know that my endorsement does much good. It might actually hurt some people. And so if a particular candidate called and asked for my endorsement, I certainly would be willing to talk it through with them. I probably would be unwilling to endorse somebody if they would say, I would vote for Donald Trump even if he's convicted. That's a red line for me. I'm not going to support anybody who would support a felon, you know. So, but we'll wait and see what the field looks like.
Now, there's another open seat that we've been kind of looking at to see what Republican might run in it. That's the Republican challenger for Tammy Baldwin this time around. What would be kind of the better gig or the better race for a Republican kind of mulling these runs? Would it be an easier time running in the 8th Congressional District versus running against Baldwin for U.S. Senate?
Oh, way easier. It's almost impossible to take out an incumbent. I mean, it can be done. Ron Johnson defeated Russ Feingold, but that is super rare. I mean, super rare. And so it would be way easier to win a congressional seat in an open race than to try to take on an established incumbent. And Tammy Baldwin, whether you agree with her policies or not, she's well liked around the state. She's well liked up in Green Bay. She works hard for Wisconsin, and she would be a very, very formidable candidate for any Republican to take on in a state like Wisconsin, which truly is statewide. It's a purple state, and so that would be a tough race. It can be won depending on what happens at the top of the ticket. If I'll tell you right now, if Nikki Haley was at the top of the ticket in the fall instead of Donald Trump, Tammy Baldwin would be beatable because Nikki Haley would win Wisconsin big. Donald Trump might win Wisconsin, if he does even win it at all, by just a few thousand votes. So there's not going to be any pull through with Trump to help any of these congressional seats.
Interesting, fascinating insight. Congressman Ribble, thanks so much.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Will. Thank you.